नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूप साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Would like to take the blessing of all of the assembled Vaishnavas. So we'll start today's session. Let me share my screen. So today we are discussing verse 16 of chapter 8 entitled Attaining the Supreme. So let's see, read the verse first and then see. So please repeat after me. Abrahma bhuvana loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
punar avirtinu arjuna
Punaravartino Arjuna
Mamupete tu kaunteya
Mamupetya tu Kaunteya
Punarjanmana vidyate
Punarjanmana Vidyate
Abrahma bhuvana loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Punar aveti no Arjuna
Punaravartino Arjuna
Mamupete tu kaunteya
Mamupetya tu Kaunteya
Punarjanmana vidyate
Punarjanmana Vidyate
Abrahma bhuvana loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Punar aveti no Arjuna
Punaravartino Arjuna
Mamupete tu kaunteya
Mamupetya tu Kaunteya
Punarjanmana vidyate.
Punarjanmana Vidyate.
Anyone wants to repeat the verse?
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Punaravartino Arjuna
Punaravartino Arjuna
Mamupetya tu Kaunteya
Mamupete tu kaunteya
Punarjanmana Vidyate.
Punarjanmana vidyate.
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Brahma Bhuvana Loka
Punaravartino Juna
Punaravartino
Punaravartino
Arjuna
Arjuna
Mam Upetya tu Kauteya
Mamupetya tu
Mamupete tu
Kaunteya
kaunteya
Punarjanmana Vidyate.
Punarjanmana
Punarjanmana vidyate.
Vidyate.
Thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji. So we'll go synonyms and then translation and purport. Brahma Bhuvanat,
Brahma Bhuvana,
up to the Brahmaloka planet.
up to the Brahmaloka planet.
Lokaha,
Lokaha,
the planetary systems.
the planetary systems.
Punaha,
Punaha,
again.
again.
Avartina,
Avartina,
returning.
returning.
Arjuna,
Arjuna,
O Arjuna.
O Arjuna.
Mam,
Mam,
unto me.
unto me.
Upetya,
Upetya,
arriving.
arriving.
Tu,
to,
but
but
Kaunteya,
Kaunteya,
O son of Kunti,
O
O
son
son
of
of Kunti,
Punaj Janma,
Puna Janma,
rebirth,
rebirth,
na,
no,
never,
never,
vidyate,
Vidyate,
takes place.
takes
Takes.
place.
Translation purport by His English Srila Prabhupada. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. All kind of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planet, the planets of the demigods, are again subject to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, Indraloka falls down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the highest planet are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baldev Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, quote this verse. Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte pratisanchare prasayante kritatmana pravishyanti param padam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to a specific spiritual planet according to their desires. So I'll quickly stop sharing my screen. So what does this verse says? In the translation, from the highest planet to the material world, down to any of the lowest planet of this world, there are places, these are all the places of miseries, where what happens? Repeated birth and death takes place, nothing else, right? So in this verse, what happens, right? Last verse, what Krishna says, does anybody want to tell what does Krishna said in the last verse we discussed yesterday? What does 8.15 says? Very famous verse, right? As Prabhuji said, we quote these two lines very often.
Dukhalayam Ashashvatam.
Exactly. Dukhalayam asvashvatam. So mam upette punarjanma dukhalayam asvashvatam napnavanti mahatmana samsindhim paramam gata. So after attaining me, they do not come to this dukhalayam, right? This place of misery, and asashvatam, this temporary mortal, right? We say it's a mortal world, or there's a mrityaloka. So they doesn't come to this temporary place where it is full of miseries. Why? Because they have attained the highest perfection, Krishna Loka, the spiritual planets, according to the desire, either Vaikuntha Loka or the Krishna Golok Vrindavan. So what does our today's verse says? So our today's verse says that even if, right, what happens in this material world, we do not know our spiritual identity. So what happens unless some devotee come in our life and try to tell us, you are not this body, you are soul, and according to what is happening, we are in this bhava sagar, like is this material world is called bhava sagar, where bhava means become. So sometime we are becoming a cat, a dog, a rat, or tiger, lion, any of the aquatic species. So we have been through so many lifetimes, and we have, because it's a bhava sagar, we are becoming, bhava means become. So again and again, we are taking birth. For soul, there is neither birth, right? Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. But our soul is getting entrapped in this material body because we do not know what is the highest destination, or we do not know how to break this cycle of birth and death. Unless until we take shelter of Mukunda or Krishna, there is no point of getting liberated from this cycle of birth and death. What happens, we don't realize it because we forget each and every lifetime what we have gone through. So imagine, it's so difficult to walk you through in this life when we remember our past lives. So it's kind of a blessing from the Supreme Lord that we are not remembering what happened in our previous life. Imagine, if we remember our family, if we are a human being, right? There could be chance. So if you were human being, who are our parents, our children, or a spouse, what body we are in, if we remember, then it's so difficult to continue in this life. So mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So from me comes remembrance and forgetfulness. So that forgetfulness of our previous lives is also coming from the Supreme Lord, so that we can continue in this life, right? But whatever bhakti we do, 2.40 Krishna says, whatever bhakti we do, because that's not related to a body, it's a activity of the soul, it's a spiritual activity, so that goes with us. So when that activity goes with us means, when so you see there is a difference, right? Somebody get a bhakti at the age of 60 years, somebody get a bhakti process at the age of at the time of birth, somebody get it on 5 6, like depending upon 20 years, 30 year of age. So that why we are getting it, because we have performed bhakti in our previous life, and we are carrying that bhakti, and when it's a time for us to awaken that in this life, because that is not lost. So Krishna reminds us, as he is sitting as an Paramatma, as a Paramatma in our heart, he reminds us to pursue our activity from there we have left off. So that's the difference. So here it has been mentioned, even if you go to the highest planet, because this is a 14 planetary system, and in the above planetary systems, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka is called the highest planetary system, and there are Janalok, Maharlok, Tapalok, like that. And Earth comes in the middle area, and the down of Earth is Rasatal, Talatal, Sutal, Patal. These are all the lower planetary system. Uh, this Earth is in the middle, but this is all. These are comes under the material world. Like Brahma's life, if we once we discuss this verse, if we get a chance, then we go to the next verse. Brahma's life is very, very, if we think from Brahma's point of view, our life doesn't even register, because his life is of billions of years. And, his one day is so big that we cannot even fathom how somebody can have this big day. But that's relativity, right? He has a lot of, you know, uh, lot of time accumulated in that. 12 hours is a very big timing for Brahma. So and those such years he lives, those such days he lives like 100 years of such. So 12 hours, then 24 hours is the one day, and then 365 is 1 year, but 1 year according to Brahma's calculation. So it has been mentioned, even if we go to the Brahma Loka planet, uh, it is repeated. What we are going to get is repeated birth and death. Even if we are going to demigod planet, where our one day is, when they spend one day is our 6 months, so it's like our 1 year and their one day. So even in that planet also, we have to have the uh, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. So we have all these material miseries of the material world. But there are different ways of getting sense gratification. Like if you see Indra, right? Indra has so many apsaras to please him. Just if he just at his fingertips, so he just orders, and so much sense gratification is there. But even though we go there, we have to come back. What happens? It is like, if you want to understand how we'll be understanding it, like if you have, suppose you have accumulated money, right? So when you have accumulated money, now you want to spend that money. So you go to a nice resort, right? Let's say you go to Hawaii or any other place which you like. So you go there and you spend your money. So maybe you had $30,000 or $50,000, which you spend there. Let's say you were able to stay there for 2 weeks, right? So what happens after that? When your money will run out, you have to come back to your place. So similarly happen in this case when the pious karmas, right? In the pious karma of living entity get burned up, like get exhausted. So zero, it will come to zero. Let's say a living entity with this pious work go to the heavenly planet. When those get expire, the living entity again has to take birth in the material world. There is a verse in 9th chapter, Shine Punya Mritu Loke Vishanti. After that, pious activities, karma or the account balance is zero. We have to come back to perform the activity of either the sinful or pious activity. Depending upon that, then we'll be again getting the birth and that. So we have to try to understand that whatever it is, we are only stuck in the cycle of birth and death. So what we are getting, nothing. We are going up and down, up and down, up and down. So let's say in a multi-story building, you are just going to sometime 12th floor, sometime you are going to 10th floor, some you are spending some time, then you are going to 4th floor. Like this is happening with our life. Like we can imagine easily with this example of big building of 80 floors or 40 floors, right? We are just going to different floors, and we are just keep rotating. So the same way in this material world, we are rotating in the cycle of birth and death. But Krishna says in this same verses, what happens? Mam upetta tu konteya. But if somehow anyone become so fortunate that they are able to attain Krishna, then there is no such birth and that punarjanmana vidyate. So that happens with that person. So what happens here in Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Madhya Leela, 19th chapter, there is a very wonderful verse. That is 151 verse. It says, Brahman Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beej. So what's happening? I'll just read out the translation. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary system, and some are going down into the lower planetary system. Out of many millions of wandering living entity, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna, by the mercy of both Krishna and spiritual master. Such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotion service. So we get a bhakti rata beach. If we are very fortunate living entity, then only we are able to get that bhakti lata, that small creeper. Like you see the season when here when there is a spring season and summer season, people get the small cilantro plant or tomato plant or brinjal or anything, right? So they get the small plant, right? Small and then it gets but how do you make sure that this plant get proper nourishment? You expose that plant to sunlight and the water, right? And with that sunlight and the water which is needed for this plant to grow, that plant grows up and give the fruit. Similarly, we have also got, like, any of the living entity who has got this bhakti latta with the help of the spiritual master and Krishna's grace, then they receive a bhakti in the seed, like a seed in their heart. And then that what is our part to do here? We have to water that seed, so that once we water that seed, our bhakti increases. Once our bhakti increases, we are more and more detached to the material world and more attached to the lotus feet of Radha Shama Sundar and Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai. So when we get attached to their lotus feet, then we are able to do more service at their lotus feet. What happens? That breaks through the cycle of birth and death. So that is the process. So here in this verse, as it has been mentioned, there are millions and trillions of living entity. You see, right, when you go out, you see so many people are there. and all are engaged all of us are engaged in the Maya, or the enjoying the result of our pious activities or impious activities. Whatever karma we have performed in the last life, that determines what body we are going to get in this life. And whatever, right, if we have spent most of our time in this body, maybe right, on an average how much a living entity, a human being, can live in this life. So that much amount of time, whatever we have spent on our activity, that will determine what kind of body we are getting in the next life. So karmana deva netrena. So when Kapila Muni says to Mother Devahuti how the living entity, get birth, right? So like Supreme Personality of Godhead, they choose their mother and father. But all of us here know that we didn't have any choice to choose our mother and father. We have been pushed to the mother's womb according to our previous activities. So whatever the activities we have performed in the last life, that will determine our this life, and this life, whatever activity we do, that determines our next life, right? So if we keep engaging on in the devotional service, if we keep thinking about Krishna, and so then Krishna is so kind, then he'll be ready to give you see, you are always thinking about Krishna, right? So when you always think about Krishna, then you are going to get that kind of body, right? So like a spiritual body, like all the lords associate have, because once we attain Krishna, we should not come back. So in spiritual world, there is no birth, that old age and disease. They are just fully enjoying with Krishna. So all the living entities in different rasas are enjoying with Krishna. So all of us, as we are living entity, we are not dead stone. We have a desire. We should all have desires, but our desire should not be to enjoy or exploit this material world. We should have the desire to serve Krishna, so that with that desire, and how to how you try to engage yourself in Krishna service, you chant and you pray to Radha and Krishna to give us their service, right? That's what we pray. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we pray to the Lord every day by chanting, remembering him, then we are able to execute a more devotional service at the lotus feet of our deities, right? So there are so many ways for us to engage in the devotional service. We are not in the level of just keep sitting and chanting whole day. Just 2 hours chanting is also very difficult for us, but that's how we have to engage. So even if we are not chanting at that time, we are reading Srila Prabhupada book. That's also devotional service. That's also count. That's also goes to our spiritual account, right? So whatever time we spend, that's like eternal time, right? So as there is one verse, I just got reminded that there is one verse in Bhagavatam which says, as the sunrise and the sunset, it takes away the life of a person. Of every living entity takes away the life, right? You see, uh, when we are 25-year-old, or we are 15-year-old, or 20-year-old, so what is happening day by day? When the next year comes, our actually there is no point of celebrating what's happening. Our one year we are closer to death, right? So it's pretty simple. So 70 years somebody has to live. If they have already reached their 60, means they have just 10 years more to live, and we just celebrate it as a birthday, right? So that's how we have to understand. So every rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, one day of our life is we are getting closer to death. So you all know the Gajendra story, right? So as Gajendra was fighting with the this crocodile, when the crocodile in the water has took the feet of Gajendra into his mouth, and as the days increased, because it was crocodile was a water species, he was getting enough strength, but this Gajendra, he was not, as an elephant, he was not able to get the strength in the water. He was thirsty, he didn't eat anything. So but this, because it's a home ground advantage, we say, right? So the match, you all know, right? Match, if we say in India, then India is gonna win. If it's in Pakistan, then Pakistan gonna win. So similar situation. So home ground advantage for Gajendra. He was becoming weak, and this crocodile, he was becoming very strong, and he was taking feet inside more and more, 10%, 20%, like that. So similarly, our life is also getting, it's like our time is like a crocodile, and that's as the passing of the time, we are getting into the mouth. So let's say if we start with our feet, right? So with the feet, and then it comes up and up, up and up, and as soon as we reach to the old age, definitely we don't know even if we reach to the old age. So at any point of time, our time will be up, and then we have to leave everything. So what will be the proper attachment for ourselves? We have to understand that, are we going to attach to the temporary things of this world, or we are going to attach ourselves to Krishna? Because Krishna is our real friend, right? Because Krishna is the one who is going to come to our, you know, after, even after we leave this body, Krishna as a super soul will continue with us as our next species, whatever species we are going to go, Krishna will be there as Paramatma. So we have to, attach to the proper person. So, and Krishna says, if you attach to Krishna, then definitely you are going to attain Krishna, right? So this is what is there in this verse. And let's see if we had to discuss anything more on this. And this one thing is, one more thing is there, that this Krishna's prem is not given outside. It's already there in our, because we are living entity, where Krishna Bhakti is dormant in our heart. How to awaken that Krishna's Bhakti is by constantly hearing and chanting Hare Krishna mantra. So that's the way to whatever creeper we have received, to make it, bigger, or we can destroy it, like, right? But we should not, because whoever is a fortunate person, whoever is a fortunate living entity, they only get, because millions and millions of living entity are wandering in this material world, but none of them would know that what is there, what is need to be done in this life, right? So this is what is this. Let me see if there is anything in the purport. Yeah, so the same thing, right? So here Baldev Vidyabhushan quotes a verse where he says that if even if we go to the Brahma Loka and we just don't think about Krishna, then we have to come back. But if we think about Krishna, if we are able to do Krishna consciousness, then at the time of devastation, all those living entity will transfer back to Krishna Loka. So that thinking of Krishna is there, right? If thinking of Krishna is not there, then imagine we'll be feeling so awkward in that situation where everybody is worshipping Krishna, and we are just we, because we didn't develop our love for Krishna, right? So how we develop our love for Krishna? To know more about Krishna, to read about him, to chant about him. Whoever we love, we think about them most, right? So you can all think of whomever you love, that person name will come in your mind. So that's how it is. We have to develop our love for Krishna so that we can attain the spiritual kingdom, and we can break through the cycle of birth and death. Even though we go to the heavenly planet, we are we we are not able to sustain there eternally, right? But our nature is, right, we don't want to change position. Our nature is eternal. How that feeling is coming? Because we are eternal living entities. Somebody says you have to die tomorrow, so much scary it would be for that person, right? Because nobody want to leave their position, because as a living entity we don't want to change our position, but forcefully each and every lifetime we had, because death is coming, and forcefully it is taking away. So that should not happen. And when that will not happen, when we develop our love for Krishna, then we can attain Krishna's abode. This is what there in this first to discuss. If anybody has any comment, question, correction, please, we can do that at this point of time. Then we'll go to next verse if time permits. Okay, if not, then
What exactly is Brahma's age, Padmalocani? Do you remember?
yeah, Mataji, it will come in the next verse. Shall we go
Yeah.
to that?
Okay.
Yeah. So his age is very 4.32 billions in just one
That's
day.
1 day, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So 100
total
years
100 years, yeah, that
to
times
multiply.
100, right?
Yeah.
No, that times 365 times 100.
Yeah, correct. You're right.
Yeah.
365. That is one day.
Wow.
So yeah. So let's come to that.
No, that's
Mataji,
1 year.
yeah, 1 year and into 100.
Right.
So
Yeah, and into
yeah.
100, yeah.
So okay, let me share my screen. 17. Where is it? I'm not able to see it here. 1 second. I have to. It is there, but not coming on my screen. Okay. If I share, are you able to see my screen? I can change it here. You are able to say it 17?
It's coming through, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Te Ahoratra Vidhu Jana
Te Ahoratra Vidhu Jana
Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Te Ahoratra Vidhu Jana
Te Ahoratra Vidhu Jana
Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Sahasra Yuga Paryantam
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Aharyad Brahmano Vidhu
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam
Te Ahoratra Vidhu Jana.
Te Ahoratra Vidho Jana.
Thank you, Mataji. So I will read synonyms. Sahasra,
Sahasra
1000,
1000
Yuga,
Yuga
millenniums,
millenniums
Paryantam,
Paryantam
including
including
Aha,
Aha
Te,
Te
Yat,
Yat
that which,
that which
Brahmana,
Brahmana
of Brahma,
of Brahma
Vidhu,
Vidhu
they know,
they know
Ratrim,
Ratri
night,
night
Yuga,
Yuga
millenniums,
millenniums
Sahasrantam,
Sahasrantam
similarly ending after 1000.
similarly ending after 1000
Te,
They
they, Aharatra,
Aharatra
day and night,
day and night
Vidhu,
Vidhu
who understands,
who understands
Janaha,
Uh-huh.
people. Mataji, want to read translation and purport?
If you want. Translation, Srila Prabhupada. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's 1 day, and such also is the duration of the night. The duration of the material universe is limited. It's manifested in cycles of kalpas. A kalpa is a day of Brahma, and 1 day of Brahma consists of 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas or ages. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The cycle of Satya is characterized by virtue, wisdom, and religion, there being practically no ignorance and vice. And the yuga lasts 1,782,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, vice is introduced, and this yuga lasts 1,296,000 years. In the Dwapara Yuga, there is an even greater decline in virtue and religion, vice increasing, and this yuga lasts 864,000 years. And finally, in Kali Yuga, the yuga we have now been experiencing over the 5,000 years, there is an abundance of strife, ignorance, irreligion, and vice, true virtue being practically non-existent. And this yuga lasts 432,000 years. In Kali Yuga, vice increases to such a point that at the termination of the yuga, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Kalki Avatara, vanquishes the demons, saves the devotees, and commences another Satya Yuga. Then the process is set rolling again. These 4 yugas, rotating 1,000 times, comprise one day of Brahma, and the same number comprise one night. Brahma lives 100 of such years and then dies. These 100 years, by earth calculations, total to 311 trillion and 40 billion earth years. By these calculations, the life of Brahma seems fantastic and interminable. But from the viewpoint of eternity, it is as brief as a lightning flash. In the causal ocean, there are innumerable Brahmas, rising and disappearing like bubbles in the Atlantic. Brahma and his creation are all part of the material universe, and therefore they are in constant flux. In the material universe, not even Brahma is free from the process of birth, old age, disease, and death. Brahma, however, is directly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord in the management of this universe. Therefore, he at once attains liberation. Elevated sannyasis are promoted to Brahma's particular planet, Brahmaloka, which is the highest planet in the material universe, and which survives all the heavenly planets in the upper strata of planetary system. And in the due course, Brahma and all the inhabitants of Brahmaloka are subject to death according to the law of material nature.
Yes, Mataji. So answer to your question very elaborately. Prabhupada is giving in the purport. That, you know, what happened, I have noticed it so many times when I was reading Bhagavatam, I had few questions, and immediately when I had that question, after 1 or 2 words, that is answered by Srila Prabhupada. I have noticed it so many times. So here also today, as you questioned, the answer is right here, very elaboratory.
In detail,
So,
yeah.
in detail. So Prabhupada says that 4 yuga, right? Satya, like if we talk about the Kali Yuga, we are in Kali Yuga. So let's talk about Kali Yuga first. So 4,32,000, right? Into twice if we do, that comes the age of Dwapar Yuga. And into 4,32,000 into 3, when we do, it comes. And 4 times of Kali Yuga is the age of Satya Yuga. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And when this cycle complete, like this plus this plus this plus this, it is just one cycle. So imagine these 1,000 cycles is in Brahma's days. That too only 12 hours. That's what it is mentioned. So 12 hours. That is like if you add this up, right? And then you multiply it by 1,000. That is just Brahma's 12 hours. And you have to add another, right? Whatever answer come, multiply 2, that is Brahma's 24 hours. That's just a one day. Then multiply it by 365, you get a year, and then multiply by 100, you get. So accordingly, Prabhupada is saying 311 trillion and 40 billions earthly years. So it's, you know, seems to be so much, right? So, but what's again, it is mentioned here that even though it seems to be very fantastic and like we seem that his life is never ending according to us. Like just imagine, right, out of this 4,32,000 year, what is our lifetime? not even 100 years, right? Out of these 4 lakhs. So imagine what is our lifetime when compared to Brahma. So, but it has been mentioned, it is also relative. So, according to the point of eternity, it is nothing, it's just the flash of light. So, if that's the according to point of eternity, Brahma's life is considered a flash, what to speak about ourselves, right? Our life is just like those germs we think that they live for an hour, right? There might be some germs who just take birth and live for maybe 2 hours, 4 hours, or 3 hours, right? So that kind of life for us, right? According to Brahma's calculation, even less than that. So, but according to eternity, it is nothing that has been mentioned, because eternity itself, no time consideration is there. But Brahma also have to leave uh, and leave that post, leave that life, and he has to take birth again according to activities what has been performed. So birth, death, old age, and disease, janma, mrityu, jara, vyati, dukkha, doshano, darshanam. So these 4 are also present in the any, because it's a part of the material world, that disease will be there, old age will be there, death will be there. Just the relativity will change. The time relativity change. Maybe one day, our one day, or their one day is our 6 months, or like as Brahma's one day is so big, right? So that will change, but eventually he has to also leave. So this verse particularly, if people say, right, Brahma, they consider him as a as a god, right? From usually people consider Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh in the same category, and they think they are the 3 gods. But if they say, then if they read this verse of Bhagavad Gita, which clearly talks about how much Brahma lives, he also dies. Sometime I also didn't have this conception before I read Bhagavad Gita as it is, that Brahma also dies. That was quite amazing for me to learn, right? I'm sure most of us might have the same experience when we came to know that, okay, Brahma's life, Brahma also dies. And that kind of amazing. So, a lot of the things which we don't know, but has been revealed to us by Srila Prabhupada through Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, and Krishna is speaking, right? But we don't read Bhagavad Gita, so we don't know. So, elaborately, Prabhupada has explained. In the translation, it's just this, but elaborately he is explaining what is the lifetime of each of the yugas and how are the each yugas also has been talked about. Like there was no ignorance and every people are very good in Satya Yuga. Then Treta Yuga, that introduced little bit, and then in the Upper Yuga, it again virtue declined. And but in Kali Yuga we see there is abundance here, all irreligious, ignorance, we don't know what, we just lie, true, all these things are non-existence, it existing only on the ignorance and irreligion thing, right? Because only with Prabhupada mercy, some of us are able to practice devotional service. So this is what has been discussed in this verse. Anybody wants to add anything on this? And I think 14 Manus come in one day of Brahma. And we are in the 7th Manu currently. And in the 7th Manu also, there is this, what millennium are we in? 28th Yuga. Like there are 1,000 yugas, right? So like that one first yuga, second yuga, third, fourth, fifth. So like we are in the 28th millennium. 7th Manu, Viveshwata Manu is the current Manu. And in the 7th Manu, 20th millennium, because Krishna appears in the 20th millennium, or the 20th millennium of Dwapar Yuga. Krishna appears on that particular millennium. So this is what has been talked. Anybody wants to add anything for Brahma or anything, please, they can do so now.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So, quick question. You just said you also thought Brahma didn't die, and you read the verse and you found out. Is there like any other verses that say specifically that Brahma dies? Because the verse says his day and night, but it doesn't say anything about his death. It's the purport that explains his death.
Yeah, because when let's say when somebody, if we take an example, if somebody has a lifetime, right? If their lifetime has been given, so they, what happens after that? They are gonna, because last verse, right? Last verse explains that whoever is in the material world, whoever in the they have to die. So Brahma also comes in the material world because Satya Loka is the part of the material world. So if Brahma is in the material world, he gonna die. But if he attains to the Krishna consciousness, if we go to the last verse, if you see here, it has been mentioned. One second, that if devastation, when there is a devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotee who are constantly engaged, not all of them will go, but whoever are constantly engaged, they can also transfer to the spiritual universe or spiritual planet. But if somebody goes, right, let's say if you have been went to some place and maybe your boss has given you some work there, uh, let's say any of the place, right, California or Los Angeles or any of the place, uh, the the person was supposed to attend the meeting conference for the 3 days, but when he sees there is a lot of enjoyment there and he just goes here and there, enjoy, not talking about you particularly, but any of the person, he enjoys there and just come back and doesn't report anything, what's going to happen? That whatever entitlement has been given to this person has been taken back, right? So similar way happen when we have given a human form in this material world. It is supposed to be engaged in the service of the Lord, because for cat, dog, hogs, we cannot explain. We cannot open the Bhagavad Gita and we cannot sit in front of them or read to them, right? It's very difficult. They don't have that intelligence. So how the human being is differing from the animal kingdom is because they have the higher intelligence which Krishna has given to understand the spiritual activities, to understand the Vedas, to know about him. So since Brahma is coming in the material world, his life is definitely going to end. But it depends upon, if he has perfected, then he is going to go back, as Baldev Vidyabhushan quotes in the last verse. Prabhuji, does that answer your question?
Partly, but you see, my question was, is there a particular, you showed the verse that you just showed before you put back this page. Can I see it again? My question was, is there a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that specifically says that Brahman dies or something like that? Because you said that you read something that made you come to the conclusion that Brahma dies, except the purport. I know the purport explains it, but I thought there was a verse you had read as well.
Not sure. Ganpati Govind Prabhu or any other, they know any verse that which says Brahma dies. There might be, but
Right.
I am not sure. In Bhagavad Gita,
And,
no, maybe in
and
Bhagavad.
this verse, is it a verse from the Bhagavad Gita? The one
Yes,
on
which verse? Yeah, this one.
yeah.
This verse, no, this is a commentary. This Baldev Vidyabhushan is our Acharya, and he's commenting. It's the commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. He quotes this verse.
Okay, so it's also another commentary.
Yeah,
I was just trying to figure out if there was a verse in the Gita itself.
got it.
Krishna saying it. Boom. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
No
got
problem.
it.
All right, no problem.
I got your question, Prabhu. But I know directly it doesn't say that here, right? Brahma dies, but these verses implies because he's in the material world, since everybody is going to die, because what they are going to get is only repeated birth and death. Since Brahma Loka is also part of this, then Brahma is going to die too. Even though after a long time. That. Okay, thank you. Anybody?
Is Brahma Loka physical? Because I thought Brahma is a spiritual being. I'm confused now.
Brahma is not a spiritual being. Brahma also got a material body. Brahma has been born. So Mahavishnu lies down in the casual ocean. Mahavishnu expand himself to Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And when Garbhodakshay Vishnu, from his navel comes a lotus stem. And with that lotus, with the stem, there is a very big lotus flower. And on top of that, Lord Brahma takes birth. He is also called Swayambhu because he has taken a birth just from the father, no mother, right? So Swayambhu. So he appears on this, what you call this lotus flower, and Brahma gets very confused because he doesn't know about his existence. So when he goes down, try to figure it out, his existence, he goes down to this stem, and then hears this word tapa. Tapa means austerity. Then he do thousands of celestial year austerity, and then Krishna reveals his Golok Vrindavan Dham, and Brahma says this very nice prayer, this Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, right? Brahma Samhita, that he writes out of, because that has been revealed by Govinda to him. So Brahma is not a spiritual being. Brahma is a material post. Like you can also become Brahma when we have that kind of pious activities. So Brahma is just a post. Brahma is not spiritual. I mean, like he's a very exalted. Definitely, he's our father, right? Grandfather, because secondary creation has been done by Brahma, right? But we should be very respectful to Brahma. But Brahma is also not kind of a spiritual. He doesn't have a spiritual body, right? So because he's part of the material world.
Okay, thank you very much, Mataji. I appreciate you. I don't want to, belabor it, but to end, I have a last question, which is a joke, so nobody should take it very seriously.
Okay.
So while all this is going on and Vishnu is giving birth to Brahma, where's Shiva in all of this? Where's he? What is he doing?
Shiva, no, it's not a joke. Like actually, what happens, right? Who is Shiva's father? Shiva's father is Brahma. So Shiva appeared from Brahma. So when that's the hierarchy, right? Shiva
Shiva's
appeared.
father is Brahma. Okay.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes. Shiva's father is Brahma. So
And
that's how
and
it
and,
is.
and just to understand correctly, Brahma's was given birth to by Vishnu. So Vishnu,
Yes.
Brahma, Shiva.
Yes. Brahma is like, as Krishna says, right? The 7th chapter, Mata Dhata Pitamaha. He is the eternal, but he has given this charge, right? As he has given the charge.
Although Brahma is Jiva Tattva and Shiva is not.
Shiva, yeah, Shiva is a different category. Shiva is like a Shiva Tattva. Shiva is a different category. You cannot acquire the post of Shiva. So Shiva is considered in a different category.
Yeah, Brahma might be an elevated personality, but he's in the same tattva as us, Kwakaprabhu,
Jiva Tattva. He is a Jiva Tattva, but very exalted position. To acquire that
Shiva
position,
is not. Yeah, Shiva is
we cannot become
in
Shiva.
between.
Yes.
I have a whole lot to learn.
Yes, Prabhu, you have this Srimad Bhagavatam set. Do you have that?
No, but I have the audio and it's more convenient,
Yeah, here you see, this is, if you go here, right? So Srimad Bhagavatam, this is all books, and you start reading this book, So Question of Sages, these are the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And although everything is available, I personally would like to read from the book. I don't want to suggest anyone, but we see, according to devotees' mercy, we have everything here, right? Just go and just read. We just have to spend our time and read.
Can you put that link in the chat for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's a Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3. Like we have the physical books also. It's a set comes. If you would like, you can contact Kanpati Govind Prabhu.
If you just type vedabase.com, it comes Kwakaprabhu.
Yeah, I can chat for him. I can do, but yeah, if you type vedabase.io, it will come. But I can ping you.
Vedabase.io. Okay.
Yeah, here I typed it's SB means Srimad Bhagavatam library. So you have all the Srimad Bhagavatam books there online. Everything is there.
There's a different flavor to reading it in the book itself, Kwakaprabhu.
I personally like to read from the book, Mataji. I never go to online.
It's a sacred book, and We worship the book itself, and you can feel the connection to the book.
Book is like Krishna himself, like two cantos are
Himself,
called the
exactly.
lotus feet of the Lord.
Krishna himself. You're really holding Krishna in your hands when you're reading.
Very, very auspicious to keep Srimad Bhagavatam at home. Even though devotees' mercy is there, they have made it available online. But yeah.
Yeah, for quick info, for quick reference, that is
Correct.
invaluable. That way that
Or
they
if you
start.
don't have the book, sometime you're traveling and you want to see.
Yeah, see,
no
and you
hands.
can search things. You can't search in the book that easily.
Yeah.
I spend majority of my days driving, so it becomes more convenient. I'm able to listen to things
Yeah, that's good.
over again on through YouTube or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, yes. However, yena kena prakarena, right? However, we have to just supply our mind on Krishna, whatever way. These days are so easy for us. The internet, we can get so many things to listen. Yeah, vedabase.io, Prabhupada Vani, so many things are there.
And Bhagavatam is on YouTube. Yeah, you can listen to it also.
I actually have it. Yes, I do. I
Oh.
have it in my collection.
Oh, good.
So everything is there by devotees' mercy, Prabhupada mercy. It was not easy 50 years back like this, or 20 years back, right? So much was not there. But now everything is. So we have covered 8:16 and 8:17. So I would like to take your permission, because it's already 8 now. It will be 8. So I'll say the prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhaya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you. And Padmalocani Mataji ki jai.